Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Play or Pass. My name is Red Panda Gamer, and welcome to the review show where I play a game for a little while and tell you what I think of it. Today is a very special episode because we're playing yet another game that's been very close to my radar. This game is called Krunch, with a K. It's supposed to be coming out any day now. It's slated for December 2012, and since we're in December, well obviously we don't have the game yet, so we're still waiting. But basically, this is a very, very cool game. It is a product of a prototype from the Ludum Dare competition, where people have a certain amount of time to complete a game. And they basically took it, and they decided to make a full game out of it. I believe it took them around 6 or 7 months. I could be wrong on that date. But yeah, this is the game right here. This is post-commentary, by the way, because I wanted to make sure I record a lot of the game before I actually got to commentating over it. So I played about it. This is probably the most I've played of most of my player passes, but I played about an hour and a half of this game, and that was actually more because I just love the game so much. As you can see, the main objective is to get from point A to point B, as it is in most games of this style. But a couple of things that make this game interesting specifically are the controls are simple. You have the keyboard or WASD to move, and then you have Z or the space bar to speed up. Now, as you can see at the top, you have a life meter. The life meter is literally what it is. It's how much time you have to live in this level. So you are timed in a way. Now, if you go normal speed, your life meter just goes at that normal amount that it goes, which is relatively slow. But every time you use boost, it'll light up, and I think it goes twice as fast. So not only do you move twice as fast, but your health bar moves down twice as fast. See, like right there. So it's a trade-off, and I love games that have trade-offs. I love games that say, hey, we'll give you this, but at the same time, if you're not using it right, you're going to kill yourself. So throughout this game, we have a falling ceiling, or a rising ceiling, or a moving right. So basically, you're going to be crushed. If you can't take your time. Not only can you not take your time because you'll die from existence, I guess, but you'll also die from being crushed by a wall. A lot of the times, this game, one of the things that's interesting about this game is it tries to cause panic, because there's always a way to get through these levels. As long as if you're cautious and slow and collected, you'll make it through. However, not only are you dying from your own health, but you're dying from a wall that's about to crush you. And there's a lot of things, like as you can see here, we have static saws, which already brings me a lot of memories of Super Meat Boy. And that is a game I'd actually compare this quite a bit to. The Twitch platforming style of Super Meat Boy and this are very comparable. And the fact that you need to be quick. You need to know what you need to do. You got to be familiar with your controls. You got to be familiar with how the character controls. And this character controls pretty uniquely, for better or for worse. We also have these enemies right here. I don't know their name necessarily, but they're like the people who live in the sewer areas. And they will basically swat at you. Obviously, when you get hit by them, you do take some damage, but more so than that, it kind of throws you off and it slows you down because they will stop right in front of you, as you can see right here. Something else that's interesting is, as you can see, when your health turns orange up there like that, there we go, we died, and we just start right over. When your heart turns yellow like that, or orange, and it gets past that little divot line that's about, I don't know, I'd say like, not even a 4, like a 16th or an 8th at the bottom there, you can't actually boost. So when you get to that point right there, you can't boost. So if you get hit too much or you boost too much, you will lose your ability to boost. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. So, as I said, this game is similar to Super Meat Boy, but another game I would compare it to, and actually the devs compare it to, the developers are, by the way, Lagrouge. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but Lagrouge and Rugged is the group, but it's two guys. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your names, guys, but it's Vieko Frenetovic and Michael Lohaus. I'm really sorry. And Vieko did the design, programming, and levels, and Michael Lohaus did graphics, level design, and music. And if you're listening, you'll notice the soundtrack is really great. Not only did Michael do the music, but the other bit of the music was made by Disaster Piece, Rich Vreeland, who is personally one of my favorite video game composers. He did Fez recently, and he's done like Shoot Many Robots. Now this is cool. This is something you can do when you get to checkpoints or when you beat bosses in the game. You actually can tweet your score, how many times you've died, and how many curbs you've collected. This is basically like a shorter form of the leaderboard that is in existence for the game. I don't think it's available yet because I'm playing it in its beta form right now. Close to final beta form, I believe. So at any time in the game, you can tweet, you can Facebook about what just happened to you, about getting squished 50 million times, or about making it without getting hit once, or without dying once, I should say. And I always like that, you know, Sword and Sorcery, Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery did this a little differently, but they added a tweeting feature. Another game I played earlier this year, which name I cannot remember, Zenith. A game called Zenith also allowed you to interact with Twitter. So there's a lot of games lately, indie games especially, that are allowing you to interact with Twitter, which I think is cool. I mean, for me personally, it's cool because it adds another layer of interactivity between me and my subscribers, especially if there's other people playing the same game as me. You know, I'm always surprised that Minecraft didn't do anything like that, like being able to tweet how far you made it. So anyway, like I said, Disaster Piece did some of the music along with one of the main developers. Disaster Piece is an amazing composer. He makes some fantastic music. If you've never played Fez, you're really missing out because that really is one of the merits of the game. But then he also did like Shoot Many Robots and Bomberman Battlefield, the Bomberman game that came out on Xbox Live Arcade. But he does a lot of great music, so it really shines through in here. Also, I didn't say this either, you get a big vibe from probably one of my favorite indie games that's come out in the last 5 years, VVVVV, made by Terry Kavanagh. There's a lot of influence there with the quick twitch platforming, and also if you look at the bottom, each level has a name, also kind of similar to Terry's game where he names every section of the game. You'll see here, I'm showing off another section of the game. We have these exploding mines. I don't really know exactly what to call them. See, this is one of those levels where you really got to take your time, but any contact with them will blow you up, which is interesting because the game gets you comfortable with being able to bounce walls at the beginning. They're like, okay, you're like, okay, I can bounce off a spiked wall every now and then and I'll be fine. And then they introduce you to these mines, and they're like, okay, now you can't be so safe with bouncing off the walls. Maybe it's best you just stop doing it altogether, otherwise you're not going to make it very long. And of course, it also makes you take your time. So what's here is some beautiful artwork done by the artist 2-Bit Art, otherwise known as Sarah Gross, her real name. So we get some awesome artwork in here, other than the graphic style. Like I know a lot of people like to knock on indie games for always having the same, you know, like, oh, it's 8-bit style with, you know, chiptune music, big deal. And I understand that, but at the same time, like, in my opinion, most indie games are still better than most AAA games. I can see how some people are getting exhausted with 8-bit and chiptune music or retro style graphics in general, but I personally like them because I really prefer how they look. I personally like a game that looks like a game. I don't like a video game that is supposed to look like real life, and I totally just get screwed right there. This is a boss fight, as I said. The boss fights are a lot like the first boss fight. Actually, I guess all the boss fights in Super Meat Boy are pretty much like this. But you have to basically run away from your boss, and it's kind of freaky. This game really does play a lot on claustrophobia and not being fast enough, and it really is freaky. In fact, I believe I read this somewhere. I'm on their website while I'm doing this, just so I can pull off pointers. Yeah, the theme of the Let 'Em Dare they did was it was your greatest fear, which is interesting because, you know, Let 'Em Dare always has themes for what games you make, and they were trying to create the rush, the claustrophobic sense of desperation, like the walls were closing in. They made the prototype in a weekend with 15 levels. I've seen the prototype. It's not quite as polished as this, obviously, but it's a similar idea. And I always love when you can look at these like prototypes of games just for a quick like, well, how well does this work like this? This game had a great prototype that really showed what the end result would be. Monaco, which is a game I'm playing right now that's in beta, which I've been putting videos up for, which is another game I absolutely love right now, was a game where he made the prototype called Monte Carlo now, and it won the IGF, and it's pretty similar to what he made now, obviously, this is much more polished. Braid had an interesting prototype because graphically it was terrible, but in the end it actually had a lot of the same, it was like the perfect concept. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of off topic. So these boss fights are, I didn't mean to actually leave this much of the boss fight in here, but the boss fights are definitely the hardest part because you really gotta rush. And what I found interesting in this was, I don't even think there's walls closing in on you in this one, because obviously you're being attacked, so that's basically like having a wall cave in on you. But they give you these bosses that are way bigger than you, way faster than you, and sometimes it almost seems unfair. Like, you really cannot take your time. This game doesn't take it easy on you. It really doesn't. Yes, there you go. I just keep getting munched. But when you finally beat it, though, it is a great feeling. Like, it really does replicate that feeling of VVVV, Mega Man, and Super Meat Boy, or any difficult game in general, where you really have to be precise with all your moves. So when you do finally win, or you know, when you're victorious in a game like this that demands you understand the controls and demands you are, you know, down to the finest detail understanding the game, the victories are fantastic. Like, one of the best details. Oh god, yeah, you almost got gassed there, buddy. One of the best feelings you can have in a game where you really earn your own victory. It's great. So we're about to get out of here right now, and I don't know if I've talked about those, the Kerbs, Kerbs. I don't know what they're for, other than possibly just leaderboard. I don't know if in the end they end up unlocking something. I know I should probably know this, but I didn't get that far. So we went ahead and cleared the sewers. You can go ahead and tweet about your score, Facebook your score again. 45 total deaths, not really all that great, but whatever. So here you can see we're going to a new level now. We get a nice little color change, and personally I like the other one a lot because it reminds me a lot of the classic Game Boy, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was, oh god, I'm almost going to get squished here. I wouldn't be surprised if the choice of the green on green on green was on purpose, but now we're going to get introduced to lasers. So throughout this game you're going to be introduced to a lot of fiends, and here you can see they're combining the elements of those guys, those floating ghost guys, with the lasers and the closing walls and the cave, and we're just getting more delated here. So the lasers are interesting because they're all on a set pattern, and I'm pretty sure all of them in the entire game are set for the same timing. So if you know one laser, you know them all, basically. And you got to be smart. You got to know when exactly you can go, because there's a lot of times in this game where they expect you to be able to cross two paths of lasers that maybe you think, oh, I can only make it past one. This isn't one of those scenarios, but there are quite a few in the game, and they can be kind of stressful. But as I said, I don't really know what the Kerbs are for. I don't know if they unlock anything special in the game. I kind of hope they do, because I understand that they're really for a high score point, but at the same time you got to think of like the replayability, and you want to be able to add something. So here's one of those instances where you got a lot of lasers and you really got to figure out how much time you have to go through them. So right here you can get through 2 rows of those, and see, that's the other thing, you can skip. The levels are a lot easier when you have a lot of Kerbs, because typically, oh god, yeah, got a nice little precision area right here where you really got to know. Yeah, this is terrible. I never said I was good at this game, but, I mean, it's not an easy game. But after playing it for quite a while, I did kind of get the hang of it. You really start to get a feel for it, because when you stop moving, there's weight in it still. You're still moving forward even when you stop, obviously, because that's just how gravity works. Which I like, but at the same time, it takes a little while to get used to. So here's another one of those examples of knowing how much time you have for a laser. And also just knowing when to use boost and when not to. You know, with me, my problem with this game was, having come from Super Meat Boy and knowing that this game is similar, when I play Super Meat Boy, I always play with turbo on. Like, I never stop running. Like, you can. That's fine. Like, oh, here's the next boss, by the way. You're fine in Super Meat Boy if you keep running. In this game, you need to learn when to use your boost and when to just do the regular drift. So this is the next boss. She's a lady. She's a foxy lady. This level, actually, I personally found easier. And I don't know why, and my guess is that it's just because I've been playing for much longer compared to like the first boss. But it also, I felt like it was a lot less closed off, a little more open. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not saying I get it first try or anything, but you will notice I get it quite a bit faster. Or at least I hope I do. Now I'm thinking I don't, now that I'm looking at my timeline, how much time there is of this. But I guess I'll take this time to talk about a few more things. But anyways, I really like this game a lot. The show is called Player Pass, and I'm definitely going to give this game a play. It is really, really good. If you're going to get any games I've ever recommended, like throughout this entire year, I think this is my 22nd Player Pass video, which is cool. I mean, I really like this series a lot. If you're going to get any game I've ever recommended, get Krunch or Monaco, because these are 2 really fantastic games. But I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys a little bit more about the game. As I said, it's made by 2 guys. Well, I guess you could consider it 3 or 4 if you consider musicians. Well, I consider musicians a part of it, but at its core, the game was made by 2 guys. You can get it on crunchgame.com. It's going to come out for Mac, Windows, and Linux. And the best part about this is, and this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, I always hate when people say, oh, this game is coming out for PC. And like I said, I own a Mac. I have the ability to play any game I want on PC, but I like to be able to just play on my Mac. You know, and I know there's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to install a Windows partition. I was one of those people, but I just really had no choice. So here you go. A lot of these boss battles have multiple rooms. I just made it through the first one, and it does take you back to there, so I don't have to start the whole thing over now. But I always hate when people announce a game coming out on Mac, or like Windows and Mac and Linux, and then it doesn't come out for Mac and Linux till question mark, basically. I mean, there's a lot of games that have come out, and they originally said it's going to come out for Mac, but it never did come out on Mac, or it doesn't come out on Mac for like 3 more years, and it's a little frustrating, but, you know, I understand that it's not as simple as just like, okay, like port to Mac.exe, or DMG, I guess, if it's Mac. So anyway, it is coming. I mean, I was playing mine on Mac right now. It was running perfectly. I had no real issues whatsoever. But it comes out in Mac, Windows, Linux sometime in December. They didn't tell me the specific day. I didn't really ask though, because I didn't want to bother them about it. But if you pre-order the game right now, it's $7.99, so you get it for 20% off because the regular price is $10. So you gotta love when you buy these games a little early. You're still gonna get the game, but you're just going to get it for $2 cheaper, which is cool. I don't think the game is going to be launching on Steam. Didn't say anything about it, which I know for some people is kind of a turn-off because a lot of people love Steam. Like, people like being able to keep track of all their games on Steam. They like getting Steam achievements, and which kind of bums me out because I feel like this would be a really good game for achievements. But that's just me personally. I'm trying to think of anything else I really want to say about the game. Oh yeah, of course, I'm sorry. There's 3 different versions of the game you can get. You can get the game, like I said, for $8 instead of $10 if you pre-order it now. You can get the game and the soundtrack. It's only $10 to pre-order, so you're getting the soundtrack basically free. I'm assuming the soundtrack will be soundtrack's going to be $4 when it comes out. And then this is the one I'm getting because I love indie games and I love collecting video game stuff, and I know this won't necessarily be for everyone, but I mean, I own the Binding of Isaac Unholy Edition, the Super Meat Boy Special Edition. Anytime indie game developers offer this, I always like to take it. I can't believe I didn't just make that. But they're doing a collector's edition that's going to be $30, and it's going to be in a large box, so like, you know, a normal, typical video game box, which is weird for an indie game. It's going to be on DVD, so as if you were actually buying a game, you know, from the store. And then it's going to also have a soundtrack on CD, so the Disaster Piece soundtrack with, actually it wasn't just Disaster Piece. I want to give credit where credit's due. It was both of them. Yeah, it was Disaster Piece and Dirk Rugged, one of the developers. So you actually get a CD. I don't know if you boys and girls know what a CD is. You also get, cool, so we beat the level here. You can go ahead and tweet about your score, which I did, but I cut out because it didn't need to be seen. You get a soundtrack CD. You get a comic book, which probably explains a little more of the game, which would be nice because I would like to know a little bit more about what's going on. So that'd be kind of cool. And we get a nice, really cool, beautiful color layout here. I like this color scheme a lot. You get a poster of all the bosses, which is 14 by 10. Big, nice poster. You get some stickers and some wallpapers, some digital wallpapers. And the collector's edition will come out February 2013. So those are the 3 different options. You can take a look at them in the link down in the description below. This video is about over. I hope you guys will consider getting this game. It is really, really good. It's a really unique game. It's totally worth the money. I love indie games, and this really is a great example of what a great indie game is. So guys, I'm Panda Gamer. Like this video, favorite this video, comment this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions for me, feel free to comment them below. If you have any games coming up that you'd like to see me review, also let me know about that. And be sure to check out this game. At the very least, check out their website, crunchgame.com. It'll be in the description below. So the guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thanks again to Fieko Frantovic and Michael Laos, I'm sorry for saying your names wrong, for giving me this review copy and for making an awesome game. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.